Today on the channel, I'm going to answer viewer questions. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to answer viewer questions, and I really appreciate everybody that submitted a question. I would feel really stupid if I posted on my YouTube and Instagram, hey, ask me some questions, I'm going to do a video, and I only had one person ask a question, so I appreciate, had quite a few questions come through. I want to take a brief moment to thank everybody who subscribes to this channel, and if you don't subscribe, I thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. I recently reached 40,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. I mean, I know that's small potatoes compared to a lot of the big YouTube channels out there, but for me it's a big deal, and I really enjoy doing this for everybody, and I plan to continue doing it indefinitely. I mean, as long as YouTube is in business, I should be here annoying everybody. So anyway, thank you for the 40,000 subs. Upward and onward to 50, man. Hopefully we'll get there. Hopefully by the end of the year. You know, let's see. I kind of think that's a stretch, but if everybody watching this video isn't subscribed, please do so. maybe we'll get halfway there. Okay, so let's answer some questions. I kind of screened these a little bit just to make sure I had some fairly intelligent answers to give you guys, but most of the time I kind of go off the cuff and I just speak from the heart. I feel like it's more realistic and it's more exciting for me too. It's enjoyable. All right, so the first question is going to be from Roller Coaster Fanatic. What gear can you get for under $500 to get Eddie's tone? All right, so I'm going to talk about amps because, you know, with a guitar, you need, I mean, really, you need a decent humbucker. You need a guitar with like a Duncan or a Gibson, a JB Seymour Duncan humbucker, or a Gibson 498, or a Burstbucker 3, Classic 57 Plus. Those pickups kick ass, and they sound like Ed. Okay, in my opinion. But for amps, there's, you know, tone is in the fingers. You always hear that. Tone is in the hands. A lot of what Eddie did was in his hands, and it's his inflection and the way he worked with his tone to get his sound. But if you want to kind of emulate that tone, if you're going for classic Van Halen or even more modern Van Halen tones, you should probably go with an amp that's got some kind of high gain structure, or that can break up fairly well, under $500. Recently, I've been demoing a lot of Joyo amplifiers. They're little 20-watt amps with a 12AX7 tube in it. You could get a Joyo Jackman 2 used. I think Guitar Center sells them used for like $109. Brand new, they're like $170, $150 in that range, and they're awesome. You get you a little 1x12 cabinet. I'm assuming you're going to be playing at home and just practicing, right? You can get a little 1x12 from Harley Benton for like 89 bucks. I use these little Egnator cabinets that they're about 200, 180, 200 used, but the little Egnator 112s are fantastic. So that would put you right around maybe $300. Run a Tumnus pedal in front of that Jackman 2, a Wampler Tumnus, and that'll overdrive it a little bit more and give you that spongy Eddie tone. And man, get you a Phase 90, get you an EVH Phase 90 pedal, or just a regular Phase 90, and you're going to be right in the ballpark. If you can afford to get a little delay pedal, Fender makes a really nice delay called a space delay that's about 69 bucks brand new, and it sounds really good. So you could run the space delay pedal through the Joyo amp. It's got an effects loop, so a little bit of delay and a little bit of Phase 90 will get you there, right? If you want to go, if you don't want to do pedals, you want to do all that business, I can't recommend a better amp for that tone than a Katana, a Boss Katana amplifier. Katanas are tremendous. You can get the Katana 50-watt MK2s for $229 brand new. I think you can get them under $200 used. There's some newer katanas out there because let's face it, every company wants to create the latest, greatest, newest model. Don't always get caught up in the hype. The new models are cool and you might get a couple extra features, but the Katana 2 50 watt, if you want to go bigger, badder, get the 100 watter, but the 50 watt katanas are like $229 brand new, and there's a brown sound built into it. It actually says brown sound, and it's got onboard effects built into it, and you can go into the Boss Tone lab or whatever they call it on their website, and you can download all the Boss pedals for free. So it's got onboard effects. And a lot of the Boss amps, you can get the foot controller with them and control your effects. But the Boss Katana Brown sound is fantastic. So check into that. I will recommend, on one of my most recent videos, I did a Friedman BE 100 shootout, and I used a plugin by Brainworks. Brainworks is spelled B-R-A-I-N-W-O-R-X. Brainworks. I think it's a universal audio plugin, but for like $125, you can buy the software or the plugin, and you can use it as a standalone plugin on your computer. So if you got a decent set of monitors and an interface, you've got a Friedman BE 100 tone, and it's got onboard effects for delays, and that's a Van Halen sound right there, and the plugin's killer. So you know that might be the most affordable option if you've got a computer and an interface and some monitors. Okay, cool. Awesome. Good question. I hope that helps. There are a lot of different solutions, man. You can get the Kramer Beretta specials for $199, and they have a decent humbucker in them. Those are nice. So that would get you a good Van Halen tone to start with also on a budget. All right, the next question is from Cap21. Van Halen's Ain't Talking About Love. Can you break down and explain the last part of the solo trill? It's in minute mark 132 of the song. Can't quite get it because it's so fast. All right, this is one of the questions I did screen. I did see it. So I listened to that section of the song. So what Eddie's doing there, to the best of my knowledge, is, hopefully this audio comes through well. I just turned on my Friedman over here. So, all right, Ain't Talking About Love. All right, let me move my laptop screen down a little bit just in case this is in the way. All right, so the part we're talking about is where Eddie's up in the A minor pentatonic position up here, and he's going like that. That's a riff he's doing there. And he starts off by going in slow motion. Now we're up in the A minor. All right, so, and he does a whammy bar dip. So Eddie does these whammy bar things where he'll be in the pentatonic minor position. I'm dropping my pick here. He'll be in the pentatonic minor position or wherever, and he'll do these scoops like. So he'll be hammering on and off this pentatonic thing, and he'll be dipping. He'll dip the bar. He did it differently in different solos, and what it sounds like he's doing to me is he's going, which is right down the pentatonic scale, but he's doing the blue note right there. So he's on 20, 17, and then 20. So 20 on the B string, 17 on the B, and then 20 on the G. And he's gonna go like that. So it's a little bit of a whammy bar dip with that pull off on the pentatonic lick. I do believe that's what he's doing there. Eddie was awesome when it came to doing those little whammy bar dips during his solos. They're so cool. You hear it a lot all over the place, but it's so fast and so slick when he does it. Sometimes you don't even realize that's what he's doing. When you watch Live Without a Net on video, you can really see a lot of really nice close-ups, and he did it a lot in that video. That's a great concert, as we all know. If you haven't seen it, check it out. For those of you that haven't for some reason. Okay, so hope that answers your question. Next question is from Tyson Dog 843. Sorry, I'm playing with my hair. I had it pulled back in a ponytail all day. And when you got long hair like mine, which I probably should cut, you get all these freaking knots in it, man. And it's driving me crazy. So, and by the way, I'm decked out in Epiphone stuff. This video is not endorsed by Epiphone. I was wearing my Epiphone shirt today with my sweats, and my hair was terrible. I'm like, I grabbed the first hat, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be Epiphone guy for the video. So, Epiphone are great. Actually, Epiphone makes some fantastic instruments. So, this video is brought to you by Epiphone. All right, cool. Next question, Tyson Dog 843. What is the best way to learn theory and still have fun and get the thrill of playing music so it doesn't seem like school? All right, this is this is one of those questions I should have screened. This is, I don't know how old you are and what part of your musical journey you're in. So I can only speak from my experience. I took theory in college. I was a music theory major, and I took composition, but I was always a rocker at heart, and I always knew I was going to play rock, and I wasn't going to be a teacher, and I wasn't going to be a composer. And playing guitar in college at my music school, which was in Binghamton, New York, SUNY Binghamton, to be exact. There really weren't any guitar programs other than classical guitar, and I could play in jazz band. So jazz band was wonderful for me. And so what I did is I knew I needed to learn theory. I learned a little bit in high school. The first thing you got to do really is well, let me back up. I took a little bit of theory in high school, which was very basic stuff, which was cool, but basic. And I started to learn how to play piano also, because I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I wanted to be Paul McCartney. And then one year I wanted to be John Lennon, then I wanted to be Paul McCartney, and I just, I wanted to play all these piano songs: Sexy Sadie, Martha My Dear, Let It Be, Hey Jude, Hey Bulldog, all the Beatles songs I was banging out on piano. And I just, what I did is I learned the guitar chords, and then I learned where those chords were on the piano. And when I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I went to college and I took theory, not knowing what I was getting into. And theory was really hard because it's complicated. And I don't know if I'd recommend for someone who just wants to get fluent in theory and understand it, you don't have to take a college course in it. I did because, that was the path I took. All right. I'm glad I did. I don't regret it. And if that's what you want to do, I recommend that also. But, you have to learn how to read music. You have to really understand theory, you got to learn how to read. Doesn't mean you got to be a great sight reader. I suck at sight reading. Guitar players always suck at sight reading, but I can read music, and I do okay at it. But you got to learn how to read music, because when you read music, then you can associate notes with the staff and sharps and flats, and you can understand triads, 3-note chords, dyads, seventh chords, major 7, minor 7. So you learn the structure of what makes those chords, and then that way when you start learning scales on guitar, you can identify certain intervals, and it helps you with voice leading. Voice leading is, really when you. I'll pick up my guitar again. All right, let me turn this amp back on. All right, so I'm going to show you. Recently I did a lesson on Randy Rhoads' D. All right, and I'll use that as an example. Voice leading. When you learn music, sheet music, and you start applying it to guitar, you realize how important voice leading is when you're starting to make chords and progressions. But there's a section of D where he goes like this. Let me turn this down a little bit. Shoot, I can't play on my lap. Hang on. I'm trying to get it where you can see it, so I'm just going to do it like this. All right, so voice leading is, in this particular phrase, we're doing open E's, and then we're going to go to F sharps, and then this string goes up to the G, and this one goes back down to an E. So essentially what we're doing there is we have a soprano note going, And we have a bass note going, or, and it sounds like there's a lot of motion there. Voice leading is also like, so what he's doing there, we've got this bass note going down. We start off on an A chord, and that's a C sharp over an A chord. And that's a D major with an F sharp, and you realize that that F sharp is a major third of a D chord. So where I'm going with this is, you know, when you know your triads and your chords and your voice leading, it helps you out in writing songs, helps you understand how to lead certain chords to each other, and to make musical sense, kind of. And then it also, when you want to write outside the box, it helps you come up with ideas that aren't necessarily theoretically correct. Theory basically is written, what they mean by music theory is back in the days of Mozart, Chopin, and Bach, and those guys, they wrote specifically certain intervals and voice leading that had to go a certain way. There was rules and regulations behind that because they wanted it to sound the way that they wanted it to sound. It was, for religious purposes, and they had basically rules around it. And but it was the way Western music was composed and what they felt was the best way to do it. But you don't have to write based on the rules. Back then there was ways to do it, but nowadays just understanding those fundamentals is good to know. It's kind of like being a chef, being a cook. If you're cooking and someone says to you, you should add this much of nutmeg and a little bit of cayenne pepper mixed with some basil, and this paprika is going to give it a certain flavor. That's great if they teach you how, just tell you what to do. But in culinary school, I'm assuming, they'll tell you why certain ingredients cause certain things to happen, with your taste buds, and to make certain other ingredients and elements come out in the flavors. And then when you get out of culinary school, they're like, now go create magical dishes. Well, music's a lot like that too. Music theory is teaching you the ingredients that you need to use to compose music that tastes good, right? So the best way to learn theory and have fun and get the thrill out of it would be get a teacher, find maybe go to school for it, but being around students who are learning music theory and having, talking with them and composing and working with them, that's fun because you get to share ideas and bounce things off of each other. And it's always good to have some form of in-person instructions. Good teachers make it exciting and fun. And when you start to see these fundamentals take shape, that's where it will spark creativity within your soul and in your musical spirit, so to speak. And that's when I think the pure thrill of playing music happens. And that doesn't seem like school. Not once did I feel like I was in college for music during my music courses, because it was music. So it never really felt like school, other than there was pressure when there was times to do tests and stuff. That kind of felt like school. There are some really good online courses. A lot of people obviously know Rick Beato, but Beato's got some theory courses. I've seen some of them, and Rick's courses are very comprehensive and understandable. But all that stuff's free online. I don't necessarily think you should have to pay for that, but maybe get a good guitar teacher that understands theory and sight reading. Start mixing sight reading and theory and voice leading into your playing. Learn how to play piano. Move your guitar skills over to piano. And try and expose yourself to as many styles of music as you can, and try to analyze those songs. What are the chord progressions in those songs? Why do those chord progressions work well with each other? Treat it like music, not like scholastic activities. All right, I'm going to go to the next question. That was a long answer. Guys, I'm sorry I babble on so much, but I'm passionate about these answers, and I really want to make sure I give you guys the best answers I can. All right, so let's see. The next question I'm going to do, let's see, I'm struggling with my laptop here. Next question comes from BMG 1150. He says, self-taught on tabs for years. He can't read music. He's tried to again and again unsuccessfully to learn theory of music. Each time I take a stride, there's some other complexity that kind of stalls my progress and throws me back into the land of lost and confused. If you had to pick three, no more, no less specific things, exercises, skills for someone that could take the jump from tabs to understanding music or focus on, what would those be? Okay, so three, no more, no less. If I could pick three specific things, exercises and scales. All right, so what I would do is that's a good question. I kind of answered some of this, I think, in my last question. I would start with the G major scale, and I would learn all 7 positions of the G major scale, from the nut all the way to the, past the 12th fret. I'd learn all those scales. And once you learn all those positions, now you've learned all your minor scales, because those are all E minor scales. And every mode is a major scale. So you will have a plethora of scales and positions. So learn all 7 positions of the G major scale. And then, if you want to play A major, then you just move those positions up a step. If you want to play B, move that up a step. So it's all shapes and patterns, and memorize those patterns. I would start with that. You've got to learn all 7 positions of your major scale and learn how they correlate. G major correlates to E minor. Okay, so I would start doing that. I would say, I don't know if focusing on music theory is one of the things I would say to do if in my first 3 steps. You said you're self-taught on tabs. You can't read music. I mean, I don't know what's preventing you from trying to read music. I would start with the first 5 frets. I'd say that's a good step, would be to start with the first 5 frets on the guitar and learn all the notes from 5 frets to the nut, and learn how to read sheet music, okay? And start off with basic sheet music exercises. So you have to learn, by taking it in chunks, you'll learn better, and it's easier. So I'd say learn all your notes on the first 5 frets, every string, and learn how to read sheet music so you can play, whatever, Mary Had a Little Lamb, or basic songs. You have to start off, boring, these little tiny things, House of the Rising Sun, so you can play those notes, because later on, to know theory, you have to know what notes you're playing rather than just shapes, okay? And then once you learn those first 5 frets, as you move up the fretboard and you're learning, I said to learn your G major scale, figure out where those notes are, what notes you're playing. So eventually you'll know all the notes on the fretboard. I wouldn't say memorize them just to memorize them. You have to apply them to scales. So start reading sheet music. It's not difficult. Sight reading it can be tough, but learn how to sight read. Learn all your notes on your fretboard and learn all your G major scales in all 7 positions, so you can eventually apply all those notes. That's your starting point. That's a good gateway to get in. You're going to be practicing technique by doing those scales. You're going to learn your shapes, your box shapes. You're going to learn how to read music. You're going to be able to associate what patterns look like in note patterns on the sheet music composed in comparison to your fretboard. And start with your A and your E, your low E and the A string first. Learn all your notes on that, and then go to the next 2 strings and the next 2 strings. But you got to learn how to read, and you can find all that online. It's super easy. I should do some basic lessons on that stuff, but I hope that helps. If you want to get better at guitar, if you just want to get better at improvising and playing, record yourself, even if it's on your iPhone. But if you can record yourself on a computer, strum some chords and start playing solos and patterns over those chords. And be eclectic. Listen to lots of different styles of music. Don't limit yourself to just one style. That will unlock a lot of creativity and stuff for you. All right, next question. Eddie Jr. 540. This is a funny question. If you own a Tesla, is it still a gas pedal? No, it's an acceleration pedal. Come on, man. It's not a gas pedal. Teslas don't take gas, right? Better yet, if you own a Cybertruck and the gas pedal falls off and you just have a little stick sticking up through the floorboard, you know, then what's that called? Is it an accelerator depressor stick? I don't know. Funny question, man. Speaking of Tesla, I wonder if the band Tesla, if any of those guys in Tesla own a Tesla. Not what you got, it's what you give. All right, next question. Coaster fan 0007. I'd love a detailed explanation on triads. Also, what's your favorite guitar? All right, so I'm not set up right now to do a detailed, explanation where I can point at a staff like sheet, like on an actual G clef staff and show you triads. But I can give you a pretty decent explanation. Really, to understand triads, you have to be able to read music, kind of. You have to understand this question and answer is like I'm just saying, read music, read sheet music. But if you're able to see it on a staff, you can learn the math behind the intervals that make triads. A triad is a 3-note chord. Tri means 3, right? At least I think it means 3. So as an example, a major triad. Let's start with C, the simplest of all. C was your first note. C is the bottom note of the triad. E is your third, and G is your fifth. A triad typically is made up. Any triad can be any series of 3 notes. But we're going to go basic triads are 1, 3, 5. Okay? So a 1, 3, 5 is a major triad. It's got to be a major third. C to E is a major third. E to G is a minor third. So a major third to a minor third, 1, 3, 5 is a major triad. If you go C, E flat, G, that's a minor third. All right? And then that's a major third on the top. That's a minor triad. So when you have a minor third, C, E, G, C, E flat, G. C, E flat, G is a minor third. If you took C, E, G and you raised the G half a step to a G sharp, that's called an augmented triad. Try that one out. That's pretty awesome. You kind of hear that in like Crazy Train. Crazy Train is an augmented triad. Probably could show you some of these examples on my guitar. Let me pull this out again. This is turning into a guitar lesson question and answer. All right, so let's take a step back, all right? So let's see. Come on, guitar, turn on. Got to wait for my amp to warm up. All right, so might be out of tune, but here is C, E, G. Do, mi, so. All right, now here's a minor. Minor sounds sad. Major sounds cheerful. All right. Now we're going to do an augmented. We're going to go C, E, then G sharp. That's like a John Lennon chord. Just like starting over. All right, and then a diminished triad is going to be a minor third and a flat fifth, right? So there's our minor third. And a diminished chord sounds like this. That's when you have a minor third and a flat fifth. And it's called diminished because everything starts getting smaller. It's diminished. Augmented, the augmented chord is stretched out a little bit more. And once you learn your triads, then you can start adding sevenths and sixths. For instance, like a A minor chord is A, and then it goes to C, A, B, C. C is your third, but C is a minor third. C sharp would be a major. So A minor is A to C, and then E is your fifth. So it goes. All right, there's our minor, A minor. Now if you add a seventh to that, which is a G, there's an A minor 7 chord. If you want to do an A major 7, you take an A major chord. That's A, C sharp, E. All right, and then a major 7 would be to add another note to the triad, which is going to be the major 7, which is a G sharp. It's like a jazzy chord. So really, you're just taking the tonic note and then you're going to stack notes on top of it, 1, 3, 5s, and 7s. Where theory comes into play is you have to understand what's a major third, what's a minor third, what's an augmented fifth, that sort of thing. And theory teaches you that. And that's the, when I say there's math behind it, that's, you're counting basically numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You're not doing algebra. You have to know what a fifth is, and a fourth, and a third, and a second, and a tritone, and things like that. So that's a detailed explanation of triads. So your not major, but your most common triads are going to be your major, your minor, your diminished, and your augmented triads. And that's basically how you do it. My favorite guitar. What is my favorite guitar? Man, I love lots of guitars. My favorite guitar in my collection at this moment is, I have an R8 custom shop Gibson Les Paul. I've got a couple Murphy Labs that I really love. My R9 is wicked. I've got an R8 that's just fantastic. But my R8 custom shop that I call Peaches is a like a Honeyburst. Fantastic guitar. That guitar is so nice, man. I love my Ibanez Fireman 250 MF. I just got that. I looked for 9 years to get one of those after one was stolen. I absolutely love the Fireman. And the EVH Frankenstein is wonderful. I've got the white Frankie Relic series that I activated the single coil pickup, and it's got the Floyd Rose on it. I love the white Frankenstein just because it's me, it's not striped like Eddie's, but I love my white Frankie. I've got I don't have it in here, but I have a Friedman vintage T with P90s. My Friedman vintage T is one of my favorite guitars also. But currently my favorite guitar in my collection is my R8 custom shop Honeyburst that I call Peaches. I name a lot of my guitars, so Peaches is my favorite. It's in a lot of my videos. She's beautiful and she sounds great, and it just brings something out of me, man. I love it. Love that guitar. Okay, next question. Is how to set up a Les Paul. All right, so it says Lesson Paul. This is a typo. How to set up a Les Paul. I need to do a video, I guess, on how to set up a Les Paul. Setting up a Les Paul is not super difficult. I can teach how to set intonation. Intonation is moving the saddles forward or backwards if the notes are sharp or flat when you're playing chords. Truss rod adjustment, it can be a little tricky if you're not sure what you're doing, string gauge, that sort of thing. So I really don't have an answer for you. This isn't a how-to video, it's a question, more like if I can give you advice. But setting up a Les Paul, I'll do a video on Les Paul setups, I promise. I'll do one really soon and let you guys check it out. I kind of steer away sometimes from doing guitar setup videos because no offense to anybody out there that's a guitar tech or does guitar setup work, but I don't mind criticism. I really don't. But it's there's a lot of critical keyboard warriors and guitar tech armchair quarterbacks out there, and I know they just want to help and offer their advice, but I mean, it's hard to do videos. There's a lot of negativity in the comments, and I just don't like that significant amount of negativity on the channel. So it seems like guitar setup stuff kind of brings that out, and it's just a downer, and I just don't need that on my channel. I don't need it in my life. So I do tech videos from time to time. It's just I kind of do it with caution. All right, my next question here is, can you build a guitar under $80 on Amazon? You can buy one. I don't know why you'd want to build one. You can buy brand new guitars. You can buy Rogues from Guitar Center for $80. You can get Squier Strats that are already made for $80. But if you really want to build a guitar and learn how to do it, you can build one for around $80. Yes, I think $79.99 you can get Telecaster kits, or $89 you can get Tele or Strat full kits, the kind that plug in, no soldering required. The instructions are good. They come with a strap and a guitar cable. Some of them even come with a gig bag. But yeah, you can get them. They're going to be plain wood. They're not going to be painted, obviously. I would say, go get you some Minwax stain from, Lowe's or Walmart or wherever for $8, and just stain it. Get a nice walnut stain, and maybe get some Watco lacquer and shoot it with a coat of lacquer before you put it together, and it'll look decent. But yeah, for about $80 you can get those kits. Telecaster and Strat kits are really affordable. Then down the road you can, as if you're on a budget, which I'm assuming you are, later on down the road you can invest small increments of money. For instance, the Stratosphere on eBay, the Stratosphere's website on eBay, you can get fully loaded Strat pick guards for $50, and they're Alnico 2 single coil pickups, and they're fantastic. So for a small fee and upgrade cost, you can get a loaded pick guard, or you can just buy a set of Alnico 2s off Stratosphere for, I think, $30, unless prices have gone up. Guitar Madness on eBay sell some really nice single coils and humbuckers, really affordable. I mean, we're talking $30 to $50 for a set of humbuckers, $15, $20 sometimes for a set of single coils, and they're nice. They're Alnicos. You can get ceramics too. So yeah, totally, you can get a guitar kit on Amazon. You can get them on eBay. Yep, but you can buy guitars for $80, decent ones. Squier Strats are everywhere. All right, so the next question, Cap 21. Can you explain what the best size strings are for half drop tuning versus other drop tunings, or does it really matter which strings are used? It can matter, yes. I use hybrid slinkies. I don't like to use a really thick gauge string, and you can go down to drop C sharp with a hybrid slinky, Ernie Ball slinky. Doesn't matter what brand. You can get, D'Addario, NYXLs, GHS. I like the hybrid slinkies, which are $7 just for a single set, and they kind of mix 10s and 9s. I believe the gauge is like a 9 to 46. You can get 9 to 52 on some of those. They're called fat bottom slinky top. I like those. Or if you want to mix and match, it does not hurt to mix and match. I mean, you can get bulk strings and mix and match the gauges and look at sets of strings. If you want to go 11s down to, say like an 8 or a 9, you can do that. The reason I don't think it matters tone wise, but two things that can impact. If you're doing drop tuning, the strings are going to be looser. They're going to be more slack. So when you fret the guitar and you've got really loose strings and it's detuned, you're going to be more inclined for your finger to bend to accidentally bend the notes sharp without even realizing you're doing it. And a lot of drop tunings have open chords that you're playing chords with one finger, and it's easy to get out of tune. And a lot of people think their guitars are set up wrong when really they're bending the strings out of tune. So a heavier gauge string will give you more stability when you're fretting chords in drop tunings, because the strings they're slack more. So maybe, but based on your playing style and based on your skill level and your comfort level with strings, sometimes it's better to go with a thicker gauge string. Now, if you're playing with a Floyd Rose or a floating tremolo, and you're going to put heavier gauge strings on the guitar, and the guitar is set up for lighter gauge strings, you're going to need to set the guitar up, because your Floyd Rose is going to come down lower when you put heavier gauge strings on it, just because it's going to pull a lot more tension on the bar. So if that concerns you, you can have a tech look at it and set your guitar up with heavier gauge strings. If you go back to the lighter gauge strings and you're going to need to set up your Floyd Rose again, it's not difficult, but floating tremolos are kind of tricky sometimes when you're changing gauges of strings, because the floating that takes place. All right, so that's something to consider. One nice thing about the EVH guitars, Eddie had his Floyd Roses set flush to the body, and you can do a lot of the drop tuning and different things in that bar is just set flush to the body. So if you break a string or whatever, it doesn't float. And that's one nice thing about the EVH style guitars, or these types of tremolos that are flush to the body. Something to consider also. All right, what's the best tube amp for playing metal? All right, so metal, this is from Cristerio 8108. All right, so the best tube amp for playing metal. I guess it. I mean, it's kind of like saying what's the best food out there. There's so many great metal amps. I mean, Diesels are fantastic. Marshalls are great. JCM 800s with a drive pedal in front of them. The Friedman BE 100s great for metal. I do hair metal with it. But are you trying to do metal like I mean, you might not consider it metal, but maybe you're trying to do something like Slayer. If you're doing something like Slayer and you need a, really scooped mid or a lot of barky mids or however you want to do it, Mesa, like a triple rectifier, they get a lot of hate nowadays, but Mesa triple rec is great for metal. So I would say, depending on what you want to do and what kind of music that you're doing, the best tube amp for metal is look at the bands that are playing the metal that you like. Or look at the bands that are playing the metal that you like and see what kind of gear that they're using. Really, any kind of high gain amplifier will suit your needs. And then a lot of those bands are putting, drive pedals or distortion pedals in front of them, many different types of pedals to get different tones and different songs. Keep in mind that a lot of when you hear those records and you hear those tones have been massaged and manipulated and worked on in the studio to the point where they sound a certain way. So sometimes it's hard emulating that sound live. I found that the best way to project live, in my experience, is to use a Marshall style tube amplifier. 100 watts gives you a lot of headroom, and with a high gain structure and some form of overdrive pedal in front of it. A triple rec or Marshall JCM 800 with a drive pedal would do the trick. And they're not super expensive. EVH, man, the 5150, I don't like the 5150 original amps. They're kind of noisy for me, but people swear by the 5150s. The 6505 by PV is the same thing. You can get those pretty cheap. That's a good idea if you're doing some really super heavy metal. And the EVH 5153s are good. The EL34 50 watters are killer. I like EL84s better than 6L6s. I think they have a more glassy, punchier tone. But the 6L6s kind of have a creamier tone and may give you more of a Dream Theater type vibe if that's what you're going for. That type of metal, progressive metal. So try it out. Blend your amps. A lot of people don't realize that, playing two amps at once will give you a God tone. Run a couple different amps together. You run a Boogie and a Marshall together in stereo. My God, it's killer. All right, Bent's Gameplay 3402. Do you have a favorite memory that's connected to music? Favorite memory connected to music, I would say, would be probably playing with Slippery When Wet, and we were known as a show band called Stone Cold Fox, which was a disco show band, and I did a thing called White Leopard Crew in Atlanta. All three projects were the same guys, but doing those tribute shows and those cover shows and playing in front of some really large crowds and traveling to different cities, those are my favorite memories connected to music. I really got to hone my chops on stage. I got to meet a lot of really cool people, have a lot of crazy times, and it made me a better player. And traveling and playing with Slippery When Wet, though, was my favorite memory. Good memories. So I would say that. For as far as concerts, I think going to see Van Halen right here, right now, in Starwood Amphitheater in Nashville back in '93, it was also a great memory. I was front row for that, and seeing Paul McCartney playing Memphis at the Liberty Bowl back in the early '90s was also a great memory. Going to music school, living in a dorm for 4 years, and playing in a college band when I was out of high school, coming of age, those are fantastic memories. Okay, my knees hurt, 83, 93. Will I ever find love? I don't know, but you'll know when it's love because it will last forever. All right, next question is from 59 Plexi. Do you think the iconic head into a JCM 900 cab will produce good rock tones or get the matching cab? I always think getting the matching cab for an amplifier is the best idea because it was designed for it, but that's not always the case. greenbacks, if the cap's got good, it's made out of thick wood, 5/8 inch plywood. It's a nice cabinet. It's kind of heavy. It's got greenbacks. If you find a used cabinet in a music store, have them take the back off of it. You can get really good deals on cabinets right now because so many people are going with modelers and stuff. And cabinets, I love tube amps and cabinets, but you can find really good deals on cabs. So getting an oversized boogie cabinet or a 1960A Marshall cab, you can get them pretty affordable. I think a 412 sounds the best just because there's a lot more air being moved. If you can get vintage 30s and greenbacks combined at a good price, that sounds wonderful. If you can get a cabinet that's stereo, that way you can run an amp in one side and another amp in the other and bi-amp eventually, that sounds great too. But the Iconic head is killer. Yes, it will sound good through a JCM 900 cabinet. I think it would sound better than the matching Iconic cabinets. Those cabinets are, the speakers in them from what I've seen online and what I've heard, sound good, but they're a little inexpensive quality, and a nicer cabinet will suit you better. So, yep, I would say that 900 cabinet would be the bomb. All right, next question. Let's see. All right, from Mick Claw. I'm 54 and have been playing guitar off and on for the last 40 years. I've been practicing seriously for the last year. I can only afford to practice an hour a day because of life and working 52 hours a week. Question is it possible to break through the mid-intermediate level? Let me go. I had to go to another screen here. Shoot, I missed the other part of his question. I remember reading this question. Okay. With this much practice a day, so an hour a day. I'm not getting any better and don't know how to streamline my practices to get better with the time I can devote to the instrument. Okay, so yes, it's possible to get better. An hour a day is more than what most people can do. First and foremost, practice for your own pleasure and try not to measure your success and get depressed about your progress. You probably can't tell that you're getting better, and you are. I would guarantee you're getting better. Record yourself on your phone and record some practicing, and then don't listen to it, and then record it again a few days later, and do it for a few months, a couple months, and go back and listen to your progress. That will inspire you. You will hear a difference and you will hear improvement. Keep practicing. If you can practice an hour a day, even if you can only pick up the guitar for 15 or 20 minutes a day, that's great. Identify areas that you feel like you are struggling the most and try to have focused practice sessions, okay? Just don't pick up your guitar and noodle on stuff. That's not really practicing, it's warming up, and it is some form of practice, but go in with a plan. I would suggest, if you're working on solos, play to jam tracks on YouTube. Play with some tracks that are, ZZ Top tracks or Pink Floyd tracks or whatever band you're into. Work on your solos, and that will help you practice on time. And if it's strumming chords to those songs, practice on time. Some people say practice with a metronome. That's boring. You can do that, but play songs to jam tracks and be the main guitar part in those songs. It's fun and it won't feel like practice, and you'll enjoy it, and record yourself so you can measure your success. But have a strategic practice regimen. Work if you know your scales need work. Work on 1 or 2 scales. Don't work on 20 scales. If you have trouble switching between chords, practice the chords that you struggle with, right? And if you're having a difficulty playing 3 chords in a row, practice those 3 chords in a row and try to play them on time. Arpeggiate those chords. Watch where your hand is going when you're playing those chords. Work on the fundamentals. That is a little boring sometimes, but when it starts to get easier, it becomes more enjoyable. But when you can hear yourself improve, you will be delighted. And the only way you can really tell if you're improving is to record yourself, because it's like a time capsule. And you can get better. You get better and better as you record yourself, because you'll be, what am I trying to say? You'll get better and better over time, and as you record yourself, you'll be able to measure that success. Play to tracks, play to songs that you like, and play to your strengths. Do the things that you like and that you do well, but attack it from that perspective. I hope that answers your question. But that's kind of what I still try to do to this day with my own practicing. Expose yourself to a lot of different styles of music and try to play things that you are not familiar with eventually. You'll grow. All right, next question is from 12 Foot Chain. If you guys haven't checked out 12 Foot Chain's channel, go to 12 Foot Chain. He's got some great lessons. All right, you can only have one. Which is it? EVH's Frankenstein, EVH's favorite Marshall head from the first couple albums, or his Bumblebee excavated from Dimebag's grave. Yuck, that's morbid. Or whatever, his best Wolfgang guitar. What is it? Go. All right, so if I could only have one, I would say, you know what, man, I'm going to take EVH's Frankenstein just because that's the iconic guitar. And if I ever was broke and I needed to make some money, man, I'd be able to get out of my financial misery. But yeah, I love, I'd say EVH's Frankenstein, man. Or maybe his Lamborghini or one of his hot rods. That would be kind of cool. But so yeah, it would have to be the Frankenstein. I might say the 5150, the original 5150 guitar. That would be awesome too. Good question, man. Thanks for asking a question, dude. I appreciate you. All right, Slate OU812. Have you ever installed an EVH Frankenstein pickup into a Fender HSS Strat? If so, did you use the Classic or Plus? Was the tone in the pickup, was the tone good in all pickup switch positions? Thanks. You know, the answer is no, I haven't done that. I would love to try the original Frankenstein pickup. I'm assuming you're talking about the one that came out first, the OG Frankenstein that's, expensive, the really expensive one. So no, I haven't done it. I mean, if I would have put it in a HSS pickup, if it's a 5-wire pickup, it would only really activate in the first and the second position. And, I don't know if it would really sound great split. The whole beauty of that pickup is to sound like Frankenstein, which would be a humbucker. So I probably would just wire it as a humbucker. And they don't make Frankenstein single coil pickups, so maybe I just misunderstand the question, but I have not installed one. I have installed a lot of Wolfgang pickups, and the tone in the EVH pickups are good. They're extremely hot. They're kind of spongy. I kind of like an underwound pickup better myself, but one day I'll pick up one of those Frankenstein pickups just for fun. By Loden OS. Talk about your view on picks and why you play the soft 73 pick. Would it be possible to play authentic EVH with a very stiff pick? And don't say yes. To me, the most under-discussed topic of all time. Eddie used thin picks. He used really thin picks. I've got some of the old Eddie picks. And the picks he liked were very thin, and he got really good pick slides with those thin picks. So I was really disappointed when I found Eddie played a lot of thin picks because I like mediums. I like 73s. I don't like a lot of resistance when I'm speed picking. It helps me. It's what I got used to as a kid, and over the years, that's what I've played with, and I've tried to do heavy and ultra heavy picks and jazz picks and stuff like that. I just can't make it work. But yeah, you could play authentic EVH with a stiff pick. Sure, you can. When you develop your own style based around a pick, and you learn how to play with it, you can make that pick sound the way that you want. The pick does have a lot of attack in the way the notes ring out and stuff, but it's what you feel comfortable with in your style and the way that you develop your own way of playing. And if you're going to learn how to play Van Halen licks, so much of the Van Halen stuff is in the inflection of your left hand and the tone that you create between the right and the left hand. Very little of it has to do with the pick itself. But pick slides, you can get a much better pick slide with a thin pick. In fact, Dweezil Zappa talks about that in his podcast, Running with a Dweezil. If you haven't checked out Dweezil's Running with a Dweezil podcast, it's worth every penny. Fantastic stuff. So there, I hope that answers your question. Oh, I do have one last question that I did miss. Somebody said they'd love for me to expand on my time with Slippery When Wet. Okay, so for those of you that aren't aware of my past, I used to play in a tribute band for many years under the name Slippery When Wet, which was a Bon Jovi tribute band. It's based out of Atlanta, and I would travel out of Nashville with my drummer who was in Nashville, and we would play shows within, an 8-hour radius. Typically we were 4 to 6 hours away from the Atlanta or Nashville area. We did it for years, and that band is still playing. But those were, I need to do a video. I can't really expand on it enough. I think there's a good story around it, but Slippery When Wet was a wonderful experience. It started off, it started off with me auditioning for an 80s metal band and disco project, because their guitar player was going to move out to California. And that project eventually evolved into Slippery When Wet around 2002, 2003, maybe, yeah, somewhere around then, right? So great times, man. We traveled. I was in different cities every weekend and played lots of big venues, Live at 5 events. It was awesome. Many people may scoff at the fact that, it was a Bon Jovi tribute band, but there's really some great music in the Bon Jovi catalog, and we played everything up through, at the time the band started, we were doing things through Crush, the Crush tour. We emulated the Crush tour pretty much identically, and then Have a Nice Day came out, and then we did a bunch of deep cuts. I learned to respect a lot of that material, a lot of stuff that I learned I'd never heard before, and it was really a good experience. I learned how to play live on stage, and it taught me a lot about traveling and touring and gigging, and it made me a better player, a better musician, and the times were just so fun. Some of the best experiences of my life. But I'll have to do a video on Slippery When Wet and how it all started. And they're still a band to this day. The only original member is Jason, who's the singer. He's a friend of mine, and we still stay in touch. He's a busy guy. We're both busy, so I don't talk to him a lot, but we're still buddies, and we created that project together, and he's still doing it. He's still going strong. So amazing project. So more to come in a video soon. I think that would make a great video for everybody. So there you go. That's questions and answers. I appreciate everybody that submitted their questions. I want to thank everybody again for subscribing. I can't believe I'm at 40,100 plus subscribers. That's just unreal to me. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out a lot. I'm trying to get a couple more thousand by the end of the year. That would be fantastic. Comment below, and we'll do another one of these sessions. If you like these videos, please let me know in the comments, and we'll do more. I appreciate everybody. Have a great night and a great day, whatever time of day or week it is. And until next time, peace out.